Got asked this the other day. If I relapse, am I considered a failure? Oh, that one hurts. And the reason why is because one of the main reasons why individuals relapse is because they feel like a failure. So can you see how the circular logic continues to reinforce this negative behavior, the actual behavior that the person is wanting to change? So does relapse mean failure? Well, one of the things that we're seeing, especially within the last probably since 2010, when social media really started to kind of get invented and start ramping up, and then really probably the last maybe 5 to 10 years, is people are afraid of failure. Like, what the hell? I mean, one of the easiest analogies is baseball. Like in the Hall of Fame, if you fail 6 times out of 10 times you're up, actually 7 times. I mean, let's be honest. The Hall of Famers are batting 300. So one way to look at that is, oh, they bat 300. Look how many home runs they have. Look how many RBIs they have. As opposed to the story we tell ourselves is, I'm such a failure. I can't even get on base 7 times. 7 times every time, 7 times I fail. I'm only 3 times I really do anything. Like the stories that we tell ourselves actually create the emotional state. So that's the sports analogy. The only thing that I can say, and this is case by case, you are the only one that knows, like deep down inside, from a place of integrity, if you're trying to manipulate the system, aka yourself, your own thought process of saying, well, relapsing isn't a failure, that people say it's part of the process, like relapse is part of the process. First of all, it doesn't have to be. Like once I recognized that, and literally made the choices in my life that continued to destroy my life, I no longer looked at that as poor choices. I looked at it as the freaking devil, like insane evil, like demon. I'm talking the dirtiest, most destructive things. Once I started attaching that type of meaning to old behavior that no longer serves me, that is started, that is when it started to divide the person who I am and continue to become again and again, because I continue to kill this version of me off. And I am able to be in a place of light and liberation and freedom because the different stories I begin to tell myself. See, we tend to soften the areas in life that we're ashamed of or we have insecurities. The part that really changes, and again, it's case by case, only like I could BS everybody around me except myself and my creator. These are the only two people that knew I was so full of crap, but I was the one that got hurt. I was the one that got the consequences. I was the one that lived in pain so bad. I wanted to change. I wanted to be somebody else. When I couldn't figure out how the hell to be somebody else, I wanted to be nobody. I wanted to end my life. You talk about failure, but here's where it gets beautiful. As weird as this sounds, I viewed failure as a bad thing, but I actually failed at attempting to take my own life. And as I started to grow, it was so interesting because like failure was such a bad word for me. It was so dirty until I had a mentor that when I opened up and shared my story, that not only now, because of the work that I've done, I'm able to share these stories. Like my story is in here. It is for anybody who wants to read. You talk about going from shame and guilt and like self-sabotage and destruction to saying, I'm done living in the dark. Here it is. I'm exposing everything. And it's so freeing. What's interesting is I had a mentor that when I shared with them that, like, I'm like, man, I wanted to take my life. I actually attempted. I walked out that day. I literally had everything plotted and went to go. And I didn't have the balls to do it. I thought it was a negative. And he starts laughing. Like, imagine you are sharing your suicidal story, and the person that you look up to that is giving you this amazing advice that's helping your life change begins to laugh. And he says, I think it's so funny that you're so scared of failure, yet the one thing you were scared of is what saved your life. You failed at arguably one of the easiest things to do in life. to take your own life. Like it doesn't get easier than that. You have total control and you failed. I think failure is a wonderful thing in your life. And it's time that you start to change the story. And that was like this moment of liberation where I felt so ashamed. And then afterwards, I'm like, holy crap. And I couldn't help but start to laugh. Like imagine sitting there with this conflicted story and of like my life is not worthy of living, yet at the same time, I'm such a failure. I can't even do this one thing. And oh my gosh, there must be divine direction and there must be a reason why, which again is in the book. But as I come full circle, now I'm living a life worthy of a calling. It took the absolute darkest, it took the biggest failure to realize that failure ain't crap, man. Failure is actually a beautiful thing. But it becomes a slippery slope when you continue to live this way in the darkness and go, well, maybe just one more time. Well, I'll fail one more. It's part of the process. Once you eliminate that, it has to be a conscious decision that is synced up not just with the mind, but the heart. Once these two sync up, and it's literally a holy crap. I've said it before up here of like, oh yeah, never again. Like again, question mark with a little up diphthong. Oh yeah, I'll never do that again. Like I'm questioning it as opposed to never again. They call that a diphthong down with authority. And once I linked it in here, that's where it becomes game over. Like it's not even an option anymore. I love my life way too damn much. So I know it's a little bit of a rant, but does a relapse mean failure? No. If you're struggling with it, that's where you ask for help. All it is it exposes the blind spots. We go, I'm good over here. I go over there and I go back to the old pattern that I said I wouldn't do again. That's just feedback. Oh, you know what? Look at what happened over here. I think I gave myself a little bit too much credit. And I think it's time that I start relying on getting help and learning some of the tools, the education, the resources, the trainings, which is what we do here. Because once you learn this stuff, as you find yourself going back that corner, you go, you know what? Oh, hell no. Like, I don't need to come over here and fail anymore because I'm failing in these new, beautiful ways. I am building stuff that is so crazy. I continue to fail daily, and it is such a beautiful journey. This is where failure gets fun, as opposed to we'll keep it clean, but we'll call it funked. So, how are you failing? Are you failing as a way to manipulate yourself? Or you continue to fall into these old cycles? Because if then, I want to encourage you that this is the time to get help. But if you have overcome that, if you have matured and graduated, and you are now failing forward in this beautiful way, where the consequences of your failures are so minimal that it's just simply feedback. You get better and better, and the failures become smaller and smaller, where you're still failing. You actually look forward to fail. Like I get excited every day. I'm going, I'm gonna screw so much stuff up, but it's gonna be so wonderful. Like imagine trying to make a new recipe. You got all this stuff. Like I don't even care. It may taste terrible. I might blow up the oven, but I'm gonna cook something amazing. And time after time, like, nope, I need this, I need this. And then eventually you find some ingredients. You find a system. You're like, holy crap, I think this is so delicious. Let me see if anybody else thinks this. And as you start to share that what your concoction of what you baked, and person after person goes, damn, this is amazing. You can see, yeah, I failed again and again and again just to figure this out. Like, had I not failed, I would have never figured this out because the earlier ones were okay. So once you start to change your vantage point, your perspective, how you begin to view things, the stories that you tell yourself, this is how you begin to create massive, massive change. So if you relapsed and you're ready, man, shake it off. And again, I don't want to dismiss all the stories that you have attached to it. You can work on that. And if you want to work with me and us, we'd love to. I'm not here to dismiss any of that. But what I'm saying is there comes a time where we no longer use excuses or manipulation. We say no more. And then we begin to fail in a complete different way. It's the fabulous failing. So if you relapsed, don't give up. The fact that you're still here, that tells you that there is a part of you that wants to live. And there's something outside of yourself that is unexplainable of why you're still here. And that's the part that I want to challenge you and encourage you to investigate. When you investigate those stories, of why am I here? Obviously, there must be something I am not seeing. I actually just had coffee today with a guy who had been struggling with his faith. He shared he went blind for almost 3 weeks because of his health complications. He couldn't move and he's super active. He's like, I just had to sit and be bored. But the irony is, it took him becoming blind in order to see. It took him becoming bored in order to be called to something much greater. And listen, brother, if you are actually watching this right now, our talk today, I felt it change you. This is the beautiful thing when we open ourselves to these experiences. If you relapsed, forgive yourself. If you made a poor choice, forgive yourself. We tend to look for permission, not understanding that it's from within here that we're looking for. So just because you relapse doesn't mean you're a failure. It just means you got some data, you got some feedback that there's still some areas to work on. And we would love to help you work through that. So go ahead and reach out if you want some help. We're here for you.